After returning to Kyushu, Nariko needed to pass some time to allow Jungeun, her new companion in arms, to translate the Hanja message. She also needed to provide some work for her large company of mercenary soldiers. For her then, it was perhaps fortunate that Kyushu was in more need of hired blades than ever. Pirate war parties outnumbered those of the samurai clans along the western coast of the island, and were determined to make sure that even the return of Nariko did not change that arrangement.
Yeah, but now we can pay her off.
You can't pay Nariko off, she isn't here for the money.
That's not what I heard. She's the richest pirate I know you ever saw.
Oh, right, well look at it this way. If she accepts your offer, she gets your money. If she kills you, she gets your money and probably a load from someone else putting her up to all this. You can't win, mate.
So what'll it be then? A trap?
Don't need no trap. I don't know what happened up there in the north, right? But she's ended up with hardly as many as everyone's saying she had. So what I'm saying is that your boys and my boys, together, we can take what she has left easy.
And what does she have left?
My boys are good, but yours couldn't beat an old man with a walking stick. Boss doesn't seem to think so, does he? Who's further down the table every time?
Like that means anything.
Ask around, see who thinks it means something. Anyway, the point is, most of Nariko's soldiers are just her maids, wearing armour, you know, make it look like she's got more than she has. Probably only 30 fighters with her.
You sure?
You don't do any sleuthing, do you? Research the targets a little more. Although I shouldn't be telling you that. Your failures make me look good, you know.
Whatever, mate. If it's 30, then I'm in. Don't even care about the haul. It'll be worth it to scrub that witch off the earth.
Now we're talking. Just follow my lead, right? Don't want any more screw-ups.
Don't go yammering about that. Just tell me how we're gonna make sure the loot gets divided fair.
Hello and welcome back to Nariko's Treasure, where Nariko is under attack by a large pirate force. A nice greeting to western Kyushu. She's forming up on a small hill ready to receive them as they charge across the hills in front of us. And I noticed that my force here is actually mostly just Nariko's bodyguards. We have very few frontline infantry as a result of leaving so many of them at Tsushima. Luckily the Onibushi can double as frontline troops and skirmishing troops, as you can see from many of them having bows. So hopefully things will go okay nonetheless. So to start with, we're just going to be bombarding the enemy's position as they charge across at us. Want to inflict as many casualties as possible right now and try and even the odds, because they have a large numerical advantage. Now I noticed them splitting into two vague groups and tried to draw at least one of the groups' attention by running down the middle of them. Unfortunately they didn't seem to care too much, most of the enemy still advancing, but interestingly some of them already routing before they even got close to us. The enemy's morale is terrible, and the ones getting close to us are in open formation, easy to defeat once they arrive. Now charging back through the enemy, I draw more attention from them and start getting some to chase me, so the few that are now engaging with the front lines of our forces can have a really hard time. Their skirmishers could be dangerous of course, because a single shot could take out one of our party members, but it's not going to be enough in response to our returning fire, and the fact that Nariko can really easily cut down skirmishers from horseback by just marauding around and stabbing them with the pike in rapid succession. And quickly things just end. All of the enemy forces suddenly chain route the entire army, as you can see in front of me now, just rushing away, and we can just chase them down. We do want to defeat the routers, because an interesting decision in the game design is that routing troops who you don't defeat, you just have to fight them again in a battle afterwards. So rather than fight a new battle against 10 troops, it's better to try and get them all as they run away. A little bit tedious, but easy enough to do from horseback, as you can see there, just absolutely cutting them down with rapid strikes. So as the battle ends, we only had one casualty and it was not fatal. So that was a fantastic result, given that I was quite worried about the large number on the enemy side, and I've captured lots of ransomed troops. So what we can do now is take some of these into the party to provide extra members for the spear line, so we're not so exposed on the front. So after that, the question is what we'll do about the rest of the pirates around the place. There were so many all over western Kyushu. I decided what we'll do is prioritize attacking groups that have prisoners with them, so we can rescue those prisoners, and prioritize attacking the largest of the groups. And this one here happens to be a combination of both of those factors. And actually, one of the local samurai lords, Lord Ishida, is going to take part in the battle with us, and he actually rushes forward and engages with the enemy way before Nariko's forces move up. Nariko herself goes to have a look at the action and actually gets shot, luckily not taking too much damage from it. Must have been a chest shot. So we're now going to just help out with this little fight by attacking on the sides of the enemy formation while my own troops are moving up. I ordered my troops to go around the hill, whereas the Rosoji forces went up and over the hill, so they arrived sooner, but I wanted to arrive with a clear line of sight on the enemy so we could attack them with skirmishing troops before hitting. But of course that caused me to arrive far too late. As my forces now arrive to take part in the battle ends abruptly with the last enemy falling. So the Rosoji forces did okay. Even without us, they only lost a few men in comparison to the size of the enemy force, and the enemy were totally wiped out. And once again we get a chance to add to our spear line, so I will do that just to be safe. Now the main reason I wanted to come down here is to use the markets of the cities, because we have various goods we can sell, mainly the spices that we got from Tsushima, and you can see they're worth loads, and immediately we actually take all of the money from this market here at Kumamoto. So we need to go around the various different markets and sell things here and there to maximize the amount of money we can get from all the loot we have to sell. While I was in town, I decided to speak to the guildmaster to see if there were any interesting missions we could go on, and he says something about there being a band of deserters attacking people on the roads and that there's a bounty on them. So we agree to hunt for this bounty, although he doesn't say how much it actually is, but still worth doing at the very least, so we can have something for our war party to do while we wait for Jungeun to do his work. I encounter a different band of deserters. It's not the one I actually need to find. I was just checking here on the mission to see if it gave me any clues as to where they were, but apparently not. Those deserters are not the ones we're looking for, and it's too small to really be a threat, so we're now going to have to just traipse around Kyushu looking for these guys.
Still not done?
Oh, hello, Mari-sama. No, not, what is it?
Mari-sama. I wouldn't bother with that. Actually, no. Do bother. Suits me, I think.
As you wish, Mari-sama. Is that all?
Too busy for a chat. All day, every day in the book, and you can't translate 2 lines from your own language. I know a freeloader when I smell one.
It's difficult, okay? This is all old, all depreciated characters.
I was joking, my little mouse. What's that then?
That's the only modern character I've gotten to so far. And this is the equivalent in Japanese.
What does it say?
You can't even... Oh, it's a joke, right?
If you like.
It says below.
Ah, buried treasure, is it?
Unlikely. Not much would survive from the time this was written until now.
Great. That's great then. Ah, you're no more fun than Kodge.
Kodge?
Lord Ito-sama, Master General Dono? The man with arms twice as thick as yours?
Ah, yes. Ito Kojiro, of course.
Of course. No need to act all smart. Not that you can even bring much else.
Then I shall say no more, my lady.
I think I'll go find him. Get some practice for my sword arm. Not that you'd understand that.
Very good. Enjoy the company of a coward. After days of searching and still not finding the deserters, I decided to take a policy of basically just attacking any deserter bands that I came across on the off chance that they were actually the one the bounty was on and they were just unmarked as such. So that means we're going to have to fight some pretty easy battles, including this one that I was using to test the firepower of the skirmish line, putting it up front in the advance of our army so we could just bombard the enemy and not attack them with melee weapons at all. Kojiro not helping, despite actually having a missile weapon. him, but anyway, we can also take an opportunity to have a look at how Jungeun's getting on at learning the firearm skill. It looks here like he cuts an enemy down, but I'm not sure if it was actually just someone in the skirmish line. But anyway, this battle, as you might imagine, quickly comes to a close at this point. After that, I headed south and encountered several large bands of pirates and decided to draw them all together into a big battle. They do outnumber us, but I don't think that's going to be a problem given what happened in the earlier battle against pirates. So really, this is just a nice opportunity to take out all of these pirate bands at once, and of course get a load of loot and experience for the party. Nariko doing some cheeky close-range mobile shooting just to show off against the enemy, and lots of them just showing their back to Nariko as they try and skirmish with our line, which is the wrong decision. She can easily cut them all down, a few making it up to our formation but not lasting long after that. So we pretty much see at this point what Nariko does when she encounters skirmishing troops, which the Woko pirates often employ. It's far too easy to attack them with cavalry units, and the enemy tend to lack spearmen. They have lots of swordsmen in their ranks, which mean they can't do much against me attacking them. Soon that battle comes to an end, the enemy party completely wiped out, and absolutely no losses on our side, and even some chances to add a new member to the party, and of course tons of loot, which we'll be able to cash in for big money. Now very soon after, we fought another battle against the Woku pirates, this time a slightly smaller party defending a bridge we were trying to cross. But this map is slightly problematic because, as we've actually seen before in this series, your troops get stuck on the trees as they move towards the positions closer to the bridge. So as a result, our lines are now very thin with only a few troops actually up at the front fighting. The enemy not going to have that problem as they stream over the bridge towards us. So that gives us a bit of a handicap, but I don't think that's going to be a huge problem considering we had a big advantage to start with and our troops are better than theirs. Plus, of course, Nariko can lead some of the enemy astray, meaning only a few of them are actually attacking our groups on the front, who seem almost uninterested in the battle as they just wait for their reinforcements to arrive. Not much the enemy can do. So soon we just pushed them right back across the river, even without our reinforcing troops, and took them out. And you can see in the distance there a clump of allied troops stuck back at the spawn point, unable to move for whatever reason. We did actually lose a troop in that battle, probably wouldn't have if those men had moved up, but anyway, it doesn't truly matter. Now I wanted to take a look at Jungeun's skills. I'm going to train him up in engineering. Now that's not immediately useful, it helps you attacking castles and building things if you own land on which to build things, so not helpful for us immediately, but I'm thinking that one day that might come in useful. I'm also going to finally equip him with superior gear to his rubbish that he started with, giving him a spear to use on horseback and some armour. So soon after that I found another band of deserters and decided to fight them, quite a large one, almost 40 members, and they're all skirmishers, so we're just going to face a rain of arrows rather than the usual bunch of enemies just charging at us. But we have enough skirmishers to just rain arrows back in just the same volume. Plus, of course, once the skirmishers are fighting, Nariko is going to do her thing. They have pretty much no defenses against this. Some of them will have short daggers with which to engage in melee, but none of them are using them. As you can see, a few trying to shoot Nariko. She takes a glancing blow from one arrow, but only does 1 damage thanks to her heavy armour, so that's all fine. And the enemies who are trying to engage with our line are just being out-skirmished and quickly defeated, so our men can now charge down off the hill to finish off the enemy, and that's the end of that battle. Now after that I headed to the east to Funai, where I got a mission from a guildmaster to hunt down bands of looters who had been terrorising the area, and I decided to just quickly skim over that because it's so easy, just a number of battles against basically defenseless enemy parties that just attack you anyway. Bad experience, bad loot, not really worth doing, but I took the mission on, so I decided to finish it. But as a result of the improved relationship with Funai that I got from it, I was able to actually set up a business there, so I blew most of my money starting a new dye works, so hopefully that will pay off in the future. Lots more deserters in the area around Funai, but actually I decided to not just attack random deserters anymore. And then travelling back to western Kyushu, I finally encountered the band I was looking for. It's a deserter party entirely composed of Shimazu officers on horseback, so quite a powerful party. But luckily for us, Great Lord Raizoji and the main force of the Raizoji clan happened to be right next to us and decides to help us out in this battle. Presumably they've been attacked by these deserters as well, so they've got cause for this fight. Now I was being careful to make my lines nice and thin and keep everything behind the spear lines. The Raizoji Ryoji party did not do that at all. They just charged in out of formation and got the battle started, which really helps me because it makes sure the main brunt of the enemy's charge didn't come towards my party. So now we're using our big numerical advantage to gang up on these officers. They're quite powerful and they have strong armor, meaning they are quite hard to actually kill. However, with so many troops on our side, that doesn't really matter. They were also supported by some incredibly weak troops for some reason. I think men they'd captured and somehow coerced to join their raiding party, but they weren't going to do anything. That guy just attacking me with a meat cleaver with absolutely no hope of success against this army. They just don't know when to leave, and the battle soon comes to an end as expected. A complete victory for our side. The Ryoji forces taking casualties as a result of their rash attack into the enemy ranks, but not too bad compared to the enemy's losses. That was a long goodbye.
Sorry, Lord Ryoji wanted to hear the whole story. Just glad he didn't off you for working for the Shimazu. Well, perhaps because I was doing it by killing Shimazu troops in his territory, he saw the side of that which works for him.
Enough for any lord, no doubt.
At least there is no ill will. He even suggested he might have work, but I think it's just clan warfare.
Nothing to sneer at. Better pay and easier to find the targets.
Not today, Kujiro-kun. You know exactly what I think of that. Besides, we might be leaving Kyushu at any moment thanks to Jungeun. He's worked out how to fly, like a bird, at last to the skies.
Sorry to disappoint you, Mari-sama.
Sama? Don't you scoff, my lord. Can we just... You're ruining our presentation.
Thank you, my lady. Even without wings, I can tell you that a destination far from Kyushu is suggested by the message. I think that it speaks of a location is sure. Unless it is some metaphor, that is. But we will assume a literal translation is apt for the sake of our sanity.
Can we get to the part where you tell us where the treasure is? Mary, please stay calm. That's all you ever say. I'm struggling to be any calmer.
Everyone, let the man speak. Thank you, Lord Ito. I have translated a symbol that, according to what I can gather from my manual, refers to this island, Kyushu. And in the same segment is a character that implies an opposite. Therefore, I predict the message will, in totality, provide directions to a location distant from Kyushu.
Wherever this place is, why compare it to Kyushu if it's so far away? Can't they just say it's 10 days' march from the mouth of so-and-so river?
They could. Indeed they could, and that in itself is interesting, especially in conjunction with my theory on another character that bears quite a resemblance to a Chinese character you sometimes see in the great texts, as I recall. The character for emperor.
Kyushu was where the first emperor of Japan began his conquest and the seat of his power. That would be why the directions start from here.
And if all this is true, it suggests that whatever this message describes is the location of
an imperial treasure. Oh, not this again.
An imperial treasure of the first emperor, though. Now that's a prize so valuable you'll be no richer for having it, unless you can eat it. Well, I think it will have been underground for so long.
Yes. Thank you, O Lord of the Board. How long until you can get us an exact location?
Out here, forever. I need some other reference texts. Could get them easy in Korea.
We're not going to Korea, right?
No, don't worry. We'll head to Tsushima and meet with the rest of the troops. I think it's about time we let everyone off the line to go do what they please with all the money we've been making. It'll give Jungeun a chance to work undisturbed. We need a break anyway. We've walked around all of Kyushu 3 times without going a day outside of our armor.
Well, at least I can get on board with that. Tsushima's got beaches, right?
Finally claiming the hefty reward for the defeat of the roaming band of samurai, Nariko and her company returned north to their temporary base on Tsushima Island, where Jungeun quickly set to work scouring what books he had for more clues, and sending to Korea for the delivery of many more. For a little over a month he worked, mostly alone but for regular visits from Nariko, eager to help but ill-equipped to do so. She insisted that Jungeun help her learn to speak and read Korean instead, no doubt slowing the process of the translation, but Jungeun did not complain. The war party were left to their own devices, aside from daily drills. After a listless couple of weeks, many chose to join Mari and Kojiro in dealing with the traders and escorting goods to Hakata on the mainland, raising a great deal of additional money. Every time they returned to Tsushima, they found Jungeun more and more sure of what the message was leading them to, and more importantly, where. One day in early October of 1569, Nariko summoned her party to prepare their equipment and assemble in the courtyard of Lord So's modest estate.
I have held you in suspense long enough, friends. The truth of the matter, the truth of the message I brought you here to decode, has been revealed, and with it, the prospect of a rather long march emerges, sorry to say. It speaks, though, of a treasure worth a march 1,000 times longer. A treasure from the beginning of history. A treasure so precious that its location was written only once. A treasure that belonged to Jimmu, the founder of Japan. There are so many reasons to seek this treasure out, but I think you will come to them on your own. So instead, let me confirm this. I will find this treasure, be it a single coin or the wealth of all the daimyo of old. For this purpose has been entrusted to me by my late father, and to him by the late emperor, and to all of us by the divine gods of heaven. It is a task for which we must prove we are worthy, and in such an age where displays of righteousness are in short supply, our proofs will ring doubly strong. Can I offer you great wealth for following me? No. Can I tell you that you are bound to fight for me as samurai? Not even close. But I can offer you that which I already have. A fight that means something new. A fight to protect the weak from the malicious. And a fight to show that the honor of our first ancestors still lives on in we few who defy the tumult. Let oaths be kept. Let lives be saved. And let we be the ones to show the world that such forgotten acts are not beyond the reach of anyone. Let us crusade through this land on our path to escape from it, to the site of our quarry, the uncharted realm of Hokkaido.
Makes me want to forget about what happened last time she did this.
You should forget, Mary. Lady Nariko has gone far beyond an apology already.
I know.
So at last we have a new destination. It seems the message is actually referring to some relic from the founding of Japan, an ancient treasure perhaps, and it claims that this treasure is located somewhere on the island of Hokkaido, at the opposite end of the Japanese world from Kyushu, this frozen island to the north, which mostly is not colonized by the Yamato people. It still has some occupants though. The Aboriginal population of Japan holds on here, the original people who the Japanese conquered to establish their samurai order. So now we have to make a very long journey right to the other end of Japan to begin our investigation of Hokkaido, and along the way Nariko is going to ply her trademark trade of seeing what she can do to help anyone she encounters who seems to be in need of a large war party that isn't affiliated to the samurai clans and isn't otherwise busy with supposedly more important matters. So the first stop is Hakata, where I need to sell some goods. Unfortunately, we were ambushed on the way to the market. Nariko was left on her own as the bandits of Hakata appeared to make an attack. They're going to have trouble, of course, since Nariko is an extremely accomplished martial artist at this point, and she has superior weapons and armor to them. This archer could pose a threat. All I need to do is duck away from each arrow as it's fired, and since he's firing them with such a regular pattern, it's easy to predict when that will happen. He does get a hit as we move in for a duel, but my armor's strong enough that it barely does any damage, and we can actually just cut him down in one hit. So really the difference of equipment making a massive difference there. And finally we are able to go to the merchants. One aspect of having a really big party like we do now is the fact we're going to have to manage our food supplies more carefully and make sure we always have enough food to go for several days without stopping at settlements. Money wise we're going to be okay. Thanks to all those investments in businesses, Nariko can support a huge party and still be financially fine. One problem though is morale. The bigger your party gets, the lower its morale gets, to represent how each individual member is sort of becoming part of the crowd. and feeling more disconnected from you as their leader, they become less and less loyal to you. And you need to improve your leadership stats to counter that, and you can also win battles and give them better food in order to improve that as well. And our party really can't get much bigger than it is now without suffering severe problems because of morale. So we head east, and here near the village of Mihara, on the eastern part of the Mori clan's territory, I spot huge bands of pirates roaming the countryside and decide this is a great chance to begin our good deeds for the land as we move to find this treasure by taking on these pirates in one huge battle, getting several groups together. So we face over 100 enemies here, but since we now have a massive war party, such odds are nothing to be worried about. It's a standard battle. We set up ready to engage them at range. The enemy's pirate forces have lots of archers among the number, so our forces are taking heavy fire as the enemy approach. Of course we're returning it, perhaps not quite as heavily as we're receiving it, but the enemy's inferior armor means we're going to be cutting them down and they're going to do limited damage to us. Nariko of course can move up, and since the enemy have so many archers, they're not going to be able to actually do much to stop by just riding around cutting people down, and their morale is poor. You can see now as they get close, the remaining bulk of their force just runs away as Nariko orders her troops to charge out and start engaging them. The enemy's formation is broken apart, so there's little hope for the guys who stand and fight. A poor choice from them, and the ones fleeing aren't going to have much better luck because of course we have cavalry, almost actually hitting one of my own Onobushi there, but otherwise absolutely annihilating the enemy with quick attacks which they're going to struggle to escape from as long as we can catch them. Some escape, but the battle comes to an end with a big victory. We did lose 2 troops unfortunately, but for the dispatch of over 100 enemies and the gain of all this loot, it's not an enormous problem, although we did lose one of the elite Onobushi who are relatively hard to replace. Immediately after the fight I moved a little bit further east into the Ukita clan's territory, and they seem to have the exact same problem. Huge bands of pirates, easily enough to destroy any villages or caravans moving through the area, so we are going to take these guys out, and once again over 100 enemies in the fight. The terrain favours us a little bit more this time because the enemy have to advance towards us and we're on the side of a hill, so we've got a great position to just shoot them the whole time, and that's exactly what we'll do. You can see our archer line's really wide in comparison to our melee line, so this formation's actually pretty weak if the enemy were to get close, but we have so many archers, with the Onobushi providing bow support in some cases as well, that they're not going to get close. You can see the huge pile of bodies behind the enemy line, and you can see how many of them are just giving up the fight before they get anywhere near us, deciding that this isn't going to happen. I order a charge and charge forward myself to lead it, cutting through what remains of the enemy line, and now engaging the enemy's routing troops, not going to be a problem whatsoever, and in mere seconds all of the remaining enemies will either be killed or will start to rout themselves. So the battle comes to an end quickly. A huge victory for our forces against a massive enemy force, and this time we did not lose a single troop in order to achieve it. Already Nariko has got off to a very good start on her crusade through Japan, but of course still plenty of distance to cover and plenty of threats to get past. With the wars taking their toll on the armies of the samurai lords, Nariko's war party was equal in size to many of the respected commanders of the time. But to say equal in strength is debatable. She had almost no warriors from the samurai class, and without the skill and equipment of such professional soldiers, her chances against military forces were far slimmer than against the impoverished raiders and pirates that she made her prey. But at the very least, she could match the samurai in terms of fame. And her journey across the country, fighting for the cause of the common people, could only grow that fame yet further, for better or for worse. Thank you so much for watching. We'll continue our journey east and complete the series of mini adventures that awaits us along the way in the next episode of Nariko's Treasure.
Yeah, but now we can pay her off. That's not what I heard. She's the richest pirate hunter you ever saw. Ha!
Let's not use that voice.
He's worked out how to fly, like a bird, at last to the skies. I sound like Peter Baelish.